thank you because this is the day that you have made for old and ineffective assumptions, biases, and protocols to be replaced with new knowledge.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Today is all about life. And that is why we breathe. We breathe in goodness. We exhale the uncertainties. We inhale life and we exhale all our fears and troubles. The next thing I do is I listen to my heart. Because the heart has far more wisdom than the mind. And then I connect with my spirit. Connecting through prayer by giving thanks for every new day that has been given to me. There is a very famous expression, very popular expression. And that expression is, live your day as if it were the last. But I say, live your day as if it were the first. And pray as if it were the first.
A very, very pleasant morning to everyone. Today is going to be really very exciting. I was saying to myself last night, if the whole world will be witnessing what is going to take place here, then the center of gravity of this planet will be here. And for a certain reason, because we have the best of the doctors who have done very significant in way of solution to this pandemic, will be here, will be presenting. And the pandemic came not just a surprise for everyone, it was shocking. And every doctor will be thinking when the pandemic started, what's the case fatality rate? But early on they were saying there cannot be answered because there's no controlled population, but there was. Do you remember February 4th, March 1, the Princess Diamond cruise ship? It was giving the answer. There were 3,711 passengers, 712 were infected, 14 died. Case fatality 1.97%. So as a doctor, we will know, oh, this is not after all a really monstrous virus. We can conquer this. If we look into SARS-CoV 2002, it was 11%. MERS-CoV, it was 35%. This one is only 1.97%. And now it has been 20 months that we're in the pandemic. Experts are saying it will only be from 18 to 24, that's the longest. So we're 20 months already. And now we have, I believe the virus has already pervaded every nook and corner of this planet. We are all breathing SARS-CoV viruses. It's just very low. And therefore we can do the mathematics now. As of this day, we have 418,000 total cases worldwide, with total deaths of 5,188,000 plus. And we do the mathematics, it's exactly 2% case fatality rate. So it's really a conquerable viral pandemic. So I was writing in my book, I was quoting Sun Tzu, he's saying, know thyself, know thy enemy, 1,000 battles, 1,000 victories. And so, how shocking was it in the Philippines? We only heard of our first few cases. In March 6, we have only 5 cases. 20 days thereafter, March 26, it was a shocking day. March 26 we had 709 cases, but there were 45 deaths already. But what was shocking? Big headline: 9 doctors died on that same day. All were frontliners, all were intubated. So I was analyzing what happened. And that's 20%. 9 over 45, that's 20%. And also the whole circle of doctors were shot. So that's, as a doctor, we are risking. As doctors, we will be risking our lives if we look into the patients. And then just count another 5 days, March 30. Another 8 doctors, different dates. On that 5 days, another 8 doctors added to the number, and there were already a total of 88 deaths, and that's still 20%. And so we, as doctors, it is our mission really to save lives. So we were looking into cures. And we heard about China is using chloroquine sulfate, anti-malaria, and they were doing good. And South Korea followed, and they were using hydroxychloroquine, and they were doing good. So we said, doctors who were keeping track on all these things, said, we have the answer. We have chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine, the anti-rheumatic medicine. And then that was March. Then came May 2020, we got ivermectin. Monash University came up with a study, 48 hours, you inactivate 99.8% of the virus in vitro. But that was a very significant study. Many doctors started using it in their patients in different parts of the world. I, for one, in the Philippines, I was looking for ivermectin. And I will tell you some stories. I was using I'm not ashamed admitting that I was using the veterinary for during that time, May and June. And I have to add, in July it was established that steroids will play a big part, and it was established. So I was so blessed that I got in contact with Dr. Marivilla. She was teaching about steroids. Okay, let me go before I lose track now. Let me go to some of my cases that I gathered who were using ivermectin in the Philippines. You know why? You know, in the States they have so many very good medications like fluvoxamine and all that, but we don't have that here. We only have ivermectin, and many people are poor, and they can't even afford the other medication. They just have to stick on that lowly ivermectin antiparasitic medicine, but it was doing them good. Early on, I think it was about July last year, I had this patient, 7-year-old, diabetic, and when I got here, it was already the 10th day from onset of symptoms. X-ray was showing pneumonia. And she's not eating for 5 days because she's really severe case. And it was in the house, so I treated her. I gave her an ivermectin 15 mg veterinary, and I gave her intravenous vitamin C 70 grams. That's 70,000 milligrams. And that's day 1 of my treatment. Day 3, I gave her another 100 gram vitamin C and DMS, so 10 ml, and another ivermectin. But I went to the province and forgot about the patient. I called her after 1 week, and I was worried what happened to her. She said, "No, I'm fully recovered, doc. What did you do?" I just took another 15 milligram of that ivermectin, and I'm okay. So that was one of the, to my mind, it was amazing. It was a big learning experience for me. And then, many patients came, and then I had this case in somewhere in Quezon province. The whole family was given ivermectin. That time I already was able to distribute, and I found a way to get ivermectin from China, and I put it in capsules. I was doing encapsulation myself, and I was giving to people. And there's this case, her name is Princess, 8-year-old female, autistic. The whole family was given ivermectin, but she was not given. And she got severe COVID. She was brought to the hospital, and she was transferred to the province hospital for the treatment. And I was talking, it's good the aunt was with her. They allowed her in the ICU because she is also COVID, but not so much symptomatic at that. And what happened? He was calling me. I was telling him, give ivermectin, vitamin C, stay on that. Don't allow her to get intubated. And then after a month, he was calling, "Doc, I have to thank you. My niece we are about to be transferred to the private room. The oxygen was taken off. She's doing well. It's time to go." What happened? I was giving her ivermectin. I was giving her vitamin C, high dose. And I want to tell you, Doc, tell your patients not to get intubated. All the patients here in the ICU who were intubated all died, but my niece was not intubated. I was sticking to your advice, Doc, not to get intubated. And then I have to tell you another story of a 25-year-old female. That's recent. In time, when the DOH was saying ivermectin is nephrotoxic and hepatotoxic, and this patient came, this experience. It was a severe case, 6 weeks case. She was going to my Zoom meeting every week, and I was telling her, okay, we have to increase her dose. I gave her highest 8 capsules of ivermectin. And 8 capsules is about 2,000 microgram per kilogram body weight. And what happened was, slowly she improved. And on the 6 weeks, she was giving her testimony in the Zoom, and she was saying, I'm fully recovered. And you know what? The aunt brought in and said, you know, Doc, you have a total of 230 capsules, my God. You know how much is that? That's 3,450 milligrams of iron. And we got her creatinine, it was 78. And we got her SGPT, it was 28. All normal. And you know one other thing about that patient? She got severe COVID, and 3 of her other office mates got severe COVID. She was managed at home. She doesn't want to go to the hospital. And the 3 other office mates were managed in different hospitals. Subsequently, they all died. And she was only using ivermectin. Of course, the other therapies where I gave Spolticine, I gave metronidazole, vitamins. And I want to mention one last patient, 5-month-old infant. The whole family of 4, father has severe COVID, 6 capsules of ivermectin did the trick. The mother, 4 capsules, also have COVID. And the sibling, about 3-year-old, also have. But the infant was dying. She had diarrhea for 3 days, floppy already, and the mother was thinking she's dying because it's not just watery diarrhea, now it's becoming bloody diarrhea. Dysentery. And so they were calling my delivery channel, and my delivery channel, I don't know what to do. You just do what you want to do. And you know what the mother did? It's good the baby's still drinking some milk. She put 1 whole capsule, then that's 50 milligrams. If you do the mathematics, that's 2,500 per kilogram because the child was only 6 kilograms. Already, from 6.5 she has turned 6 kilograms. And on the first day, they saw improvement. They did it for 2 more days. 1 whole capsule for a 6 kilogram infant. She was recovered after 3 days. So that is, if I should say, a miracle of ivermectin. No wonder ivermectin in this country. Okay. We were blessed to, CDC Ph have been approaching the health authorities for a forum. We were blessed to have it in June. We were in a Zoom meeting with a respectable health secretary. And what they were saying, we need clinical trial. And I said, I will come up with my clinical trial. And I have my clinical, I want to announce it that it's to be printed. It's composed of about 1,800 patients of prophylaxis, actually trial. 95% success. And that was last year I was giving ivermectin every 3 weeks, 1 capsule. Okay, I haven't get on track of my time. 2 minutes na lang. 2 minutes na lang. Okay, anyway, this is what I want to share with many good doctors here. We just have to keep on studying. We cannot rely on our med school, learning, because therapeutics, in the field of therapeutics, just relying on pharmaceutical research. We have pharmaceutical research. We have to rely on. We have to study, continue studying. We have to be very keen on our observation. We have to be quick and sharp with our assessment and diagnosis, and we have to be very decisive with our therapeutics. And we have to have the good heart of a doctor. We have to practice our profession in the most conscientious way that it should be. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I have to give the keynote. How an early aggressive management of COVID will make a big difference. That will be given by Dr. McCoy. Early aggressive management. What early treatment protocols do we have? That will be given by Dr. Peter McCoy. Early treatment protocols. What importance or what impact does COVID-19 have on the microbiome? That will be given by Dr. Zabin Hazan. And what is the real deal? Natural immunity or vaccine-acquired immunity? We have Dr. Castillo, Rafael Castillo, to deliver that to us. And of course, the most auspicious of the things we will hear: early outpatient management of high-risk COVID patient. Our beloved Dr. Mario Villa. We are all excited. And before I go to my seat, I would like to give a short inspirational message. Life is short. Art is long. Man born of woman is short-lived and glutted with agitation. Man's existence is riddled with troubles. But it depends on us how we make our times happy, how we make our every moment joyful and blissful, and how we make our whole being and existence profound. So life is really beautiful, and life is what we make it. And we have to remember, mix darkness with light, what will prevail? It will be the light. And I believe so everyone in this hall, we're all the illuminators of this world, to helping in this pandemic. And so, just as Ms. Carino congratulated you, I also congratulate each one of you for doing the best part in this pandemic.
Up to 30 years of age, particularly the teenagers and adolescents are at the
Like you and me,
risk.
Doc.
Oh, yeah, no, you're 31. So identify these high-risk individuals who are likely to develop, relatively likely to develop complications which may be vaccine-related, and do some interventions to prevent it. If you cannot stop them from getting vaccinated, of course.
The athletes, Doc, that have been dropping dead.
Yes, precisely. That's what we're saying. That it may not come. Vaccine-related adverse events may not occur in the first week or so. It may occur late, sometimes as late as 6 weeks after vaccination. In fact, up to 3 months. So that's why we've been proposing to the Department of Health that everything that happens to someone who receives the vaccination should be reported as an adverse event. One is driving and then gets into a vehicular accident. That should be reported as an adverse event. Probably the vaccine affected his concentration, his focus, his reflexes. So that's how you study adverse events. Later on, you analyze the adverse events, and someone will adjudicate. The group will adjudicate whether they're vaccine-related or just incidental events.
Next question, what can you say about cross-brand boosters? Anyone can answer.
Yeah.
Let's not be shy.
Well, it looks like they just decided that, but there's really no study. They just decided it. They announced. I think it has something to do with whatever is available. That's they have to follow, or they have to just keep on saying everybody needs to get vaccinated, and then they could see that the vaccination is getting delayed because somebody did the Pfizer, and then the Moderna is available. It happened in Canada. I think it started happening in Canada because people got the Pfizer and they didn't have the second dose. It started even with the second dose, not just the booster. The booster. So there's no study. Not that
All right, Doc Homer is reminding everyone as you step outside of the room, the tables outside will have the printed out presentation notes, as well as your diplomas for attending. All of you are now honorary PhDs.
Spread the knowledge.
Next question. Aside from the accumulation of spike protein, are there other dangers to frequent boosters or vaccinations? I have heard it may lead to immune exhaustion. Can you elaborate on this? Doc Romy?
Romy wanted to
No,
okay.
actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
para katama naman doon sa aking specialty, I would like to expand on the adverse events sa
Okay.
vaccines. Kasi I think masyadong na-overlook yung mga mechanisms of toxicity that the vaccines are expected to cause. Like for example, yung mga epigenetic effects ng mga vaccines. And this has been shown by scientific studies even before the pandemic. And this has been demonstrated by the group of Dr. Abbey, for example, when he studied the epigenetic effects, the non-specific effects of the PT and the other vaccines. And this has never been discussed, itong mga epigenetic effects na ito. Yan ang problema kasi I think the main conceptual defect of the medical profession right now in general is we are still very reductionist in our thinking. It's not a holistic point of view. And we're fortunate because CDC Ph have a lot of doctors who are more holistic in nature. Yung iba, holistic, nahuhuli palagi. And aside from that, if we remember Dengvaxia, they recognize the antibody-dependent enhancement. But that is not easy to prove, and that's only one mechanism. I pointed out to Inquirer, I wrote Inquirer about the mechanisms of toxicity of Dengvaxia. They ignored my point of view. I even brought to attention to the chief of the investigative committee of the UH, who are actually my colleagues in UP Manila. They just politely said they will read my article. They never responded. And they are my friends. So I think it's because of the well-established dogma in medicine, in reductionist thinking, in practically many matters, especially with infectious diseases. You have to look for a microbe to explain a disease, like tuberculosis, for example. It has to be the TB bacillus. In this case, SARS-CoV-2, COVID-19. But it's not as simple as that. If we look into the history, for example, of infectious diseases, it's mainly social determinants that determine whether you get sick or not. And the same is true with the adverse effects. Again, aside from that, nobody is talking about the adverse effects of genetically engineered products. mRNA and the AstraZeneca and Janssen vaccines, they are genetically engineered. I'm not sure about the Chinese vaccine because they're very secretive. They claim it's a kill vaccine, but we don't know much about it. And the ingredients, I don't even believe that is really kill, because theoretically you cannot kill a virus. So, and that has been demonstrated also if you look into the history of vaccines. Smallpox, they claim they've killed it. Polio, they claim that they've killed it. But scientific evidence came out that they really cannot kill completely these viruses. Aside from that, vaccines have extraneous components. For example, the lipid nanoparticle that they use in messenger RNA vaccine. There's very little knowledge about the toxic effects of this, and there's a lot now coming out in many publications, but they are not getting it out. And we don't even know the other components there. And I remember a Spanish laboratory had come out with graphene oxide. Nobody ever attempted, as far as I know, I hope somebody independent would try to confirm or whether there is this graphene oxide or not, because graphene oxide is a very, how would you say, very versatile chemical that is used in targeting cells inside the body, including brain cells, and they can actually be manipulated with extraneous force like electromagnetic radiation. That's why all this talk about 5G being relevant to the toxicity of vaccines is there. They call it conspiracy theory, but look at the scientific evidence behind it. They're suppressing the scientific evidence. And there's a lot more. And I'll take probably 2 hours to discuss it, so I just stop now. I'm just telling you some of it. But I tell you, there's a lot of toxicity mechanisms. It's not coming out.
All right, may request po ang ating film crew if all of our doctors can move their seats 6 inches forward.
May I add something?
Yes, po.
This pandemic caused me to revisit my basic virology. And I'm realizing many of it are already obsolete. A virus, I've been telling in my book, a virus once it gets inside our system, it remains there for life. And there are proofs to that. We have the shingles from the varicella. We have Epstein-Barr virus, that person may be suffering from recurrent urinary infection or throat infections. Even ending up with mononucleosis, it's just because of the most common virus, which is Epstein-Barr virus. And I've been saying even the SARS-CoV-2, it will remain for those who are infected. But then when it comes to Dengvaxia, what made that vaccine a failure was the immune-mediated enhancement. Those 600 kids who died, they look into the history. They were exposed to the dengue before they got the vaccine, and then when they were given the vaccine, it practically activated what was dormant virus they had exposed before.
Thank you very much, Dr. Landrito. Now, another question. Aside from the accumulation of spike protein, are there other dangers to frequent boosters or vaccination? I have heard it may lead to immune exhaustion. Can you elaborate on this?
Yeah, the problem is that we cannot really rely so much on what the scientists or the makers of these vaccines are telling us. Because initially they told us, don't worry, the vaccine will just be localized in the deltoid muscle. That's all where it stays. It just stimulates the immune reaction, and that's it. It decays, it disintegrates, it's gone. Okay, but now we know that's not true. Okay, because the cells, once the vaccine is injected, it forms billions of these spike proteins, and it's too much for the immune system to handle it. So it gets into the circulation, and then it goes through practically all organs of the body. It goes to the reproductive organs, the kidneys, the heart, even the brain. And I think we have now a few autopsy studies of individuals dying post-vaccination, which have shown this. So it's something that we cannot really rely on, whatever data is being given to us. So that's the most unfortunate part of that. I think earlier I was talking to someone and also asking about the long-term prospects of vaccination. And I said, no one can tell. We don't know. And I guess the likely narrative is that 5 years from now, these vaccine manufacturers and health officials would tell us, oh, so sorry, we didn't expect it would turn out this way. We thought all the while it will be okay. So sorry, all these things, complications are now happening to you. So now that's something that we have to make a decision on. Are we taking that risk? That is why, again, the basic principle is that groups of people who will not really benefit from vaccination should not get the vaccine. I think there's no question that the elderly, kaya sa susunod na eleksyon, sorry. Yeah, sometimes it's politicized, it's unfortunate, but it's something that we really have to strike an open conversation about. Everyone must be talking about it. It should not be suppressed. It should be, if they have good arguments to convince us, then they should let us know what their arguments are, and they should listen to our arguments as well. So, what was I saying? So, it's the basic. I guess this is a situation wherein there must still be an abundance of caution. And that's a basic principle of medicine. If we're not sure of something, di tayo sigurado, medyo duda tayo, exercise an abundance of caution. But we're throwing that caution to the wind when we recommend mass vaccination. Yung matatanda, the high risk with many comorbidities, they will really benefit from vaccination. From between 40 to 60 without comorbidities, it's an equipoise. Tabla-tabla, maaaring maka-benefit, maaaring makasama. Less than 40 without comorbidity, we reviewed the data up to June this year. I don't know if there's any change in June, but up to June this year, clearly the risk outweighs the benefit. So, bakit mo i-risk? Wala ka nang benefit, may risk ka pa on the long term. Yeah, Harvey.
Yeah, this is my personal experience again with the older population. Even them, I've treated so many vaccine injury, Dr. Rafi. So many. I'm not saying that everybody, okay? But they get debilitated. I see them. I mean, they're, a lot of them are okay, I'm alright. But once I face those with the injury from chronic fatigue, I'm telling you, the presentation of the vaccine injury is almost like after the natural infection post-COVID. Post-COVID, especially the long hauler type of thing, and then even the blood clots, I see them exactly the same thing with the vaccine. The markers are the same. They have elevated D-dimers, they have elevated CRP, the troponin sometimes gets elevated. When the troponin is elevated, that's the heart. Elevated pro-BNP, that's the heart. So I check them all. They come to me and I see a lot of reactivation of latent viruses, especially the herpes zoster, herpes type 1 and 2, the EB virus, and for some reason, I have like at least 5 women with all the viruses activated plus Lyme. What do you want me to do? What do you want me? Well, I do something. I'm just asking myself. But it's a very, very challenging situation. So even if you put it like, let's say at 5% or 10%, the high risk population in terms of getting the natural infection is the same population that is at high risk for developing the complication from the vaccine, unfortunately. And then when they get sick, you're gonna see they die first. When they get very sick, they die ahead of the unvaccinated. They do. And that, I think, is the mechanism of ADE.
Can I add? One of the failures in vaccine is autoimmunity. And what we are seeing now, hypercoagulability, hyperinflammation, that's just the acute reactions. But we are yet to see the late sequela. There can be carcinogenesis, there can be autoimmune disorders. And I have seen, I've been saying it may be a late sequela, but I have seen the case of an early carcinogenesis. She's a doctor with me in the City Health Department of Muntinlupa. She got Pfizer in July. She got a lump in August. She had it mastectomy in September. She had chemotherapy. It was breast cancer. And I remember Dr. Oclarit was saying, and he was supposed to be awarded the Nobel Prize, but they withhold it. But he was saying, we have reverse transcriptase enzyme. It will reverse that DNA or that mRNA, and then the cascade of events can happen. That there can be cancers, there can be autoimmune disorders from that.
Lovely see Carla Martinez has a comment in one of the Viber groups. I think she might have hit on the answer. The answer for the pandemic in the Philippines is Ramon Ang, CDC, because ivermectin and beer are the perfect combination of pandemic. It's the way to get Filipinos to drink ivermectin because they have to drink it with beer. So the question is, would like to know what you think of original antigenic sin and if this can result in reinfection after a natural infection. Original antigenic sin and if this can result in reinfection after a natural infection. Referring to vaccination.
Sorry, Marie, we didn't get a question.
Original antigenic sin. I don't know if this is during Dr. Corey's or Dr. McCullough's. He says original antigenic sin.
Sin as in...
Sin as in original sin.
Original sin.
Pero original antigenic sin yung kanya. And if it can result in reinfection after a natural infection.
I think the vaccine, because if the vaccine can, I think what he's trying to ask is if after a vaccine you can get reinfected, or if what happens to the natural, how you call that, immunity. Parang ganon.
Nabakunahan na,
Kung nabakunahan ka na, so, and then you, kung mariri-infect ka pa, and what happens to your natural immunity?
The natural infection, he got the vaccine.
So what happens after that, I think?
I don't know.
Well, definitely.
Maybe just answer that.
Definitely.
If there's a question.
Definitely, we know that now that the vaccine doesn't prevent you from getting infected. The vaccine doesn't prevent you from transmitting the disease. And I think the idea there is you have to listen to Bundenbush, that if you vaccinate, actually the younger people, you erode the innate immunity. And as you more vaccinate, because the natural immunity is like a generic one. It can cover anything, not only the COVID virus, but anything. But if you train your immune system to only respond to a very specific antigen, which is the spike protein right now, so that's how you erode the what do you call this? The general or the generic immunity. I think that's the thing, yeah. And that's why it's not a good idea to be vaccinating the young people because of that. And I agree to that for the same reason that, if you get naturally infected, it's really, Dr. Rafi explained it very, very good. You're gonna get your slides.
They have my slides,
okay.
so anyone who wants a copy, you can.
It's a long-lasting and it's a stronger immune response.